Hey everyone, I bought an Apple Watch Ultra so that I could give you a comparison between my Fitbit experience and the Apple Watch Ultra with all my fitness and all my different lifestyle abilities, but then I got really sick. So that's the video you're gonna get instead. Hi everyone, this is Tristan from Crafting Worlds, where the arts meet community. Feel free to join that community in the Discord below. Anyway, we are here today because I was testing out the Apple Watch Ultra versus the Fitbit Versa, the first one, which I have not changed and have been wearing for, about 6-7 years now. Mostly because every Versa or Sense that came after it was just a dumbed down, less effective version of the first one. And I was kind of holding on hope that they would fix that. But unfortunately, with the Versa 4 and the Sense 2, they crippled them in favor of the Pixel Watch that has less battery. So wanted to try out the Apple Watch Ultra because I like more battery life. I like the design of it, and I am athletic, but not crazy athletic. But I don't think that this is necessarily a super athlete watch. I think that it has multiple reasons for. It has a lot of use cases, but that's not why we're here. Why we're here is because I was going to be doing a lot of tests of heart rate and or exercising and the differences between the two. But what ended up happening, if you cannot hear it in my voice already, is that I got massively sick. I got a cold that can only be described as, why isn't this COVID? I literally had PCR tests, rapid tests, you name it, and it wasn't COVID. It was just a very, very bad cold, which is still hanging on 12 days later. I'm finally feeling a little bit better to even make a video. And I figured, why not, since I have all the data, show you what happens to your heart rate and to your heart rate variability and how, hello, and show you how these are displayed and presented to you on the different platforms. So you've got the Apple Watch with the Health app, and then you've got the Fitbit with, the Fitbit app. And the two different approaches to your wellness. It's very interesting to watch the ups and downs and to see the peaks and to see where you felt the worst and where you felt the best and why. I'm going to jump into the phone here and I'm going to show you in the different apps, how that data was broken down. And so as a Fitbit user for a very long time, I did find it a little bit harder to break down the data from the Apple Watch, but as someone that really values the accuracy of the wearable, I did find that the Apple Watch really nailed the jumps and the peaks much better than the Fitbit. Let's take a look at the actual apps and let me show you the data while I was sick. It was about 12 days of sickness from I got the Apple Watch Ultra 1 day before I actually got sick. So I got a workout in right before that, and then everything went to hell. So I have 10 full days, including the dip, like the drop of you are sick, all the way to you're starting to feel better. So I want to show you the differences between the two ecosystems, the Apple Watch Ultra through the Health app and a bunch of other different apps that I had to install in order to kind of extract that data, and the difference between the one app, the Fitbit app, which has all of it kind of right there for you, although a lot of it is pay gated behind premium, which I don't have. Whatever. All right, so we're just going to jump right into this because obviously I purchased an Apple Watch Ultra so that I could show you some ultra stats on being sick. Oh man, this did not play out the way I thought it would, but it did show me a lot of interesting data and the difference between the Ultra and the Fitbit, the way that they aggregate that data and how we can read it, and where there is a lot of room for improvement, in my opinion. Coming from one ecosystem to the other definitely makes this a little harder to get used to the Apple Watch in particular. So let's jump into the Apple Watch data first, and I'll show you what it looked like during my sick days. So we have the health app here, and there's my lab results, because we really thought that it had to have been COVID, but it wasn't. It was just a really nasty cold. That was a PCR that came back negative. But it's got we're going to focus on the important parts. One, blood oxygen. So this was my blood oxygen for the week. Everything was normal. Shows it in these bar graphs. I do wish it was more of a line graph, but this is fine. It kind of shows you their range, which for blood oxygen, that's pretty useful. There's my cardio fitness, but I only got one workout day before I just got really sick. So that was fun. But the main thing, I guess, would be heart rate. You want to be able to see your daily heart rate, your weekly heart rate. So this gives you the range for the week. This is a weird way to look at this, and I'll show you why once I get into the Fitbit app, but this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, like this, if this was a line graph, would be a lot more helpful. The problem is that the Apple Watch is only polling every couple of minutes, whereas the Fitbit is polling, constantly, 24/7 data on your heart rate. So you're getting these ranges versus like a nice smooth graph. So that's just your heart rate. But the things that you want to look at when you're getting sick is heart rate variability. So let's take a look at that. This should be a very clear indicator of, yeah, okay. So here is where I had my first workout, and then this is when I got sick, and it dropped drastically. 53, 58, down to 50, or down to 49. Probably felt a little better this day, 64, but then this was the worst day. This is where I actually think I got a temperature and like a fever. And then after that, I think everything got a little bit better, and you could see that my heart rate variability went up. It's been, kind of juggling itself here. But now we're starting to get into a little bit more of a normal range, and, it's going to be a little bit lower than normal for me. Because, I'm not doing workouts and I'm not doing my normal activity. I'm taking it easier. But this is definitely starting to get back into normal. Although I don't see any way to see a trend. So you'd have to just go off of what you see here on the data. Obviously, I don't have a lot of data because I just got the Apple Watch. But this is the data that this shows me. But there's no trend, which is Apple likes to give you data, and I'm pretty sure this data is accurate. But if it doesn't show you trends and doesn't aggregate that data properly, then what is it doing? Hey, are you just supposed to know these things? I know these things, but does everybody? And the other one that is very helpful is the resting heart rate. This definitely shows you how you're feeling. So I actually imported a lot of Fitbit data into this, so you can see where my normal is. This is kind of like my trend. And then you can see where I put the Apple Watch on for my first day. And then you can see where I got sick. But because I just put the Apple Watch on, I think it was still trying to figure out, like, what are the stats for this guy? And it definitely started raising. And so over the course of the cold, it went up to 66, and that's pretty high for me. And then as I started to feel better, it dropped drastically. And then it stayed within this like 52, 53 range. This today is a weird outlier. I used the meditation breathe app on this right after I had coffee, and I think it absolutely threw off my resting heart rate. I think there's a weird bug with that. And if you do the mindfulness app on your watch right after you have coffee and your heart rate is raised, be ready for this to jump, because when I woke up this morning, this was right down here. So I don't know what to say about this. It's very strange, because this is worse than when I was at the peak of my cold. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. This is supposed to have a trend. So here is what it would be. I mean, some of these do have trends, which is kind of nice. So my normal trend would be like 58 beats per minute. If I look at my yearly, it would be 57. So that's nice to have. Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful. That actually shows data and aggregates it properly. Sleep, they just added sleep the sleep data. Now, the Apple Watch gives me a lot more sleep than Fitbit does. As you can see, the awake times here. Let me just show you the Fitbit app real quick. So for sleep, this is today. This is the same thing. Look at all my awake times on that. I don't know which one is more accurate. So it looks like the Apple Watch is giving me more sleep because 9 hours and 15 minutes is pretty accurate probably, but I don't know. I do like that it gives me time in bed. That's something that the Fitbit doesn't give you, and that's definitely helpful. This one also gives you a trend, I believe. Yeah, this one shows you like your average time of sleep for the week, which is always nice to have a trend. Then you've got wrist temperature, which honestly, I don't know what the hell this does. I mean, I get it in terms of like ovulation and for female tracking, but for men or even colds or sickness or anything like that, I don't know what this did. I'm positive that the heater turned on that night, and I'm positive that I turned on my AC because the fucking heater was too much. But what does that mean? What is my actual temperature? I don't know what to make out of this. So this is pretty much useless. I don't know what to do with it. Then you do have your trends here. And if we show all trends, we can definitely get an idea. So here's our resting heart rate. Like I showed you in the actual resting heart rate area. It does show you trends. Sleep, it also will show you the trends, which is nice. This is nice to have. Knowing a trend is more important, I think, than the actual accuracy of whatever wrist wearable you're wearing, because a trend will be accurate to that wearable and accurate to you, so you can at least see when you're off your trend and then maybe adjust accordingly. Oh, did I drink too much? Did I not get enough sleep? That kind of thing. So overall, the Apple Watch is giving me a lot of raw data, right? Like it's just a ton of raw data, but it's not really telling me what to do with it. It's not aggregating it for me very much. Like, where's my heart rate variability? Why isn't that showing me a trend? Why don't I get that as a trend? I feel like that's a really important one. There's just a bunch of things that seem to be just thrown at you as like, here's a bunch of data. Good luck. And that's been the hardest part for me to get used to as a Fitbit user, because when you open that Fitbit app, let me just show you this. So when you open the Fitbit app, I mean, it really just presents everything to you. It's got you calories burned. By the way, this is all calories burned, not just active calories. So this is sleeping, resting, and non-workout calories and workout calories. Apple only does your active calories. Then you've got your steps, your zone minutes, your miles. You can adjust and change this too if you edit it. To floors, you can add all sorts of stuff. It's got your heart rate, it's got your sleep, and it's got health metrics. And so the heart rate is very helpful because it shows you your resting heart rate, and it shows it. Here's where the cold started, and that's when it peaked out, 67, and then it's been slowly starting to come down as I feel better. Now, Fitbit does put a smoothing filter on like all your information, your heart rate variability, your sleep data, and your resting heart rate, and your sleeping heart rate, unlike the Apple Watch, which doesn't do it when you're sleeping. And it kind of puts a median of it. And so you're not going to drop super fast, which is kind of annoying. Whereas if you looked in the Apple Watch, resting heart rate immediately jumped from, 63 to 52. That's not something that you'll ever see in Fitbit. So it was at my peak, I was 67, and it's been slowly dropping, 65, 62, 61. Today being, for some reason, a outlier for both watches. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm not feeling good. I don't know. Anyway, it definitely, it shows you what's going on a lot more granularly, but it definitely doesn't seem to get you back to where you were as fast. Even if you're stats are the same. It's doing an overall trend versus a a day-to-day data point. Sleep score, you've got a lot of information. It's very well laid out. The Fitbit is known for their sleep. This is just a fantastic part of the app. It also takes naps, so it'll figure out a nap. The only way to get a nap in the Apple Watch is to install something like Auto Sleep. But unfortunately, Auto Sleep has its problems, and you don't want it writing to your health app because it can screw up your normal sleep time because it'll use the algorithm from this and not Apple's, and Apple's is more accurate than this. And so you've got conflicting data. So that's a problem. But let's go back to Fitbit real quick and let's look at this really cool health metrics. So this shows a lot of really useful information that you can use, and it tells you why. Like it gives you the information. So if we look at heart rate variability, first of all, it's going to show the trend and your personal range. It figures out what your personal range is. So you can see here, let me switch this to trends. So we can have a 7-day, a 30-day, and a 90-day trend. Let's go 30-day just to give it better. So here's my heart rate variability. And you can see right here is when I got sick because I dropped really low, right into the low 50s, 49s. And then I felt a little better maybe. And then, oh boy, it just like, we hit out above or below your trend. And then as I started to feel better, it started to go up. And then it's dropping a little bit. And that makes sense since I'm not doing my normal workouts and my body is still a little bit tired from this cold. It's been wicked. So I expect this to fluctuate, but at least within my range, which is nice. And knowing what my range is also very nice. I don't know why Apple doesn't have heart rate variability range. It has it for your resting heart rate, but not. So, I mean, here's the resting heart rate. And you can see my normal range is between like mid 50s. Every now and again, I'll spike into the 60s, but not often. And low mid 50s is pretty happy for me. And then you can see right here, boom, got really sick, got above average. And now it's slowly coming back down. Like I said, it's not going to drop right down to where it should. The Apple Watch just does that a lot better. It just boom, it just drops. It knows what day to day is going to be. And then this one is applying some sort of an algorithm to it. So it's incorporating a lot more data into what your resting heart rate is. So is it more accurate or less accurate? I don't know, but being able to know the trend and seeing the trend, that definitely will help to at least know if you're in your healthy range or your unhealthy range, even if the number itself isn't perfect. I think that's something that the Apple Watch is lacking a little bit from my experience, is that it just doesn't, raw data is great and accurate data is great, but if that data doesn't give you an overall idea of what your health and wellness is, how do you figure out if it, what that data means? Oxygen saturation, this was available during the pandemic on my Versa 1. They turned it off. This is one of the reasons I'm looking at the Apple Watch in the first place, is that Fitbit just decides sometimes, oh, you like that feature? Well, you don't get it anymore. Oh, you want a new watch that has new features? Well, then we're going to take away features. Like there's no watch out like the Versa 1 that is better than the Versa 1 in the same series. The Versa 4 is a worse watch than the Versa 1, especially accuracy-wise. And then the Sense 2 is an absolute nightmare. They removed so many features, and it almost seems like they did it so that the Pixel watch gets more attention, even though it's a worse watch than the Sense 2 in terms of the tech in it and the hardware. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. This is why I feel like Apple has the better system, because they're giving you everything right up front. It's just the presentation is just so much different. And it's taking me a lot to really understand what that all means. Whereas this one, you've just got your dashboard here. Every morning you can take a look at it. You can look at your heart rate granularly. You can break it down like this because it's all day heart rate. You can see exactly when you spiked up. You can see that while I'm making this film, my heart rate goes up a bit. This is where I drink my coffee up here. It's just, I don't know. It's presented in a way that is a lot easier to understand. Now, you can download third-party apps. I've downloaded AutoSleep. I showed you that. I've also downloaded Heart Analyzer. This is pretty cool. This shows you your, average heart rates for the day. This is not your resting. It also gives you recent trends, which I like. Anything with trends is important. This is showing my resting heart rate much lower than the Apple ones. So that's the other thing, is that some of these apps are different. They just show different data. Like, why is this one showing me a heart rate at a resting heart rate at 68? And why is the Apple Watch showing me, 73? Like the heart rate itself is showing me 73. Why? What's the difference? Why isn't it just pulling the data? I don't understand. It also shows your heart rate variability. I like that this one allows you to turn off daytime and just show your nighttime variability, because I find that your heart rate variability at night is a very good indicator on how you're feeling versus your full day. Cardiogram, super helpful, shows sleep, shows naps, shows workouts. It shows when you're walking, because the Apple Watch doesn't automatically pick up on a walk. You have to tell it. It's just, this is great data, but it doesn't allow importing into the health app. So I don't know. There's another app called W Health. This is awesome. This is very much like Fitbit in that it gives you a lot of your data right up front, and it shows you trends. But there's a lot of things that you don't understand too. Like, there's too much data in this. I actually spoke to the developer, and I'm seeing if he'll make like a simplified version of this for people that are coming from Fitbit, because this is basically what we're used to, right? Steps, workouts, heart rate variability, our heart rate, our oxygen saturation, respiratory, resting heart rate. And then if we want to see the weekly information, it gives us those trends, and it has the trend bars, and it shows us our high rates. Like, there's our trend. Our trend is down the center. Here's our trend. It's down the center. Very helpful, but this is just a little bit too complicated to be used as is. But I think with a little tweaks, this could be great. Like, look at my heart rate variability here. For the week, this shows the trend, which is upward. And that's super helpful information. Today was very good. The week was okay, obviously, since I was pretty sick. I like this app. I think this app is great, but it needs to be able to get in there and get granular like the Fitbit. Yeah, so this is helpful. It shows me just comparisons from today to the, different days of the week, which is really nice. And yeah, this is more like what you're going to get with your Fitbit. So I think with a lot of tweaks, this app is actually an all-in-one kind of Fitbit type thing, especially if you're coming from Fitbit and going to the Apple Watch. And like I said, I think the Apple Watch's data is more accurate. We just need a better app, something like this, that really gives us that Fitbit experience and shows us what to do with that data. Because you could have all the data in the world, and if you don't have a place to aggregate it, and you don't have trends, and you don't have a general idea of what your baseline health is, it's going to be really hard for you to use that data in a useful way to your health and fitness. So I do like this app a lot. I wish it was a little simplified, a little bit more. This has a lot of potential. So I like this app a lot. This is called W Health. Definitely check it out. I'm talking to him now, and I think that he has the ability to get this to basically be an all-in-one spot like our Fitbit app is, and really just drive it home of like, here's your health metrics today, and then here's your trends, and not have to be, pay gated by a premium subscription to see all of this. So I think that will be very important. And paying one time for his app, I think is a much better option than paying a subscription for the Fitbit app. Plus, have you seen the Ultra? Oh my God, it's so sexy. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Yeah, that's my breakdown. That's my experience so far between, the Apple Watch and the Fitbit. And yeah, let's go back up and I'll tell you my overall thoughts. And there you go. As like I said, it's quite the difference between the two. You really do have Fitbit that is doing this rounding and this overall algorithm that is not necessarily accurate day to day. Whereas you have the Apple Watch that's like, okay, you feel like this today, you feel like this today, you feel like this today, and it's being very accurate per day. But it's not necessarily giving you the overall grand scheme of things without the help of third-party apps. And then you have to make sure that those third-party apps are calculating your data properly. And it was a lot of trial and error of looking at like, okay, here's the data from the Apple Watch. How do I look against my Fitbit? And I've grown to trust what I see on my Fitbit because I know the overall trends of my health. I don't know the overall trends on the Apple Watch yet, but I do think that with the extra battery life and just the way that Apple presents the data, that it is definitely a bit more accurate. And over time, I will get used to that. I just have to get used to it, and I have to play around with it more. And hopefully, they'll improve their base app a little bit because it could definitely use like a Fitbit treatment. The data that's provided by the Apple Watch is indeed super accurate. However, if you don't know how to aggregate all of that data, say, for instance, like the Fitbit app does for you, sometimes that data can be useless. So I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think that the Fitbit shows and presents and gives you data better than the Apple Watch does? Natively, that is, without apps and having to install third party. Or do you think that installing third party apps gives you exactly what the Fitbit gives you, but maybe a little bit more accurate? It's an interesting trade-off, I will say that, and one that I will have to get used to. But so far, I do think I am leaning Apple because I'm a fanboy. No, because I just like the way that the watch keeps up with what's going on in my health a little bit quicker. And I don't like the way that the Fitbit rounds things off and does more of a, over time thing. Now, I do appreciate trends. I just want the raw data to then be input into something to see those trends. I don't necessarily want that data to be manipulated already prior to me seeing it to, have those trends. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. I'm very interested in your opinions on whether you're, into the raw data of the Apple Watch with less of a presentation or the Fitbit that has much more of a coherent, one app presentation, but may not be as accurate. If I were in the comment section below, I'd say it comes down to the user. Are you comfortable installing third-party apps and kind of looking through to see which ones give you the most accurate trends with the data that is provided by the Apple Watch? Or are you more comfortable putting the watch on your wrist, logging into your app, and having it presented to you in the way that that Fitbit wants to? Regardless of accuracy or inaccuracy, this is what you're going to get, and these are the trends that you're going to have to look at. Would you prefer that type of approach, or would you prefer the Apple approach, which is a little bit more of like splat on the wall, here's all your data, good luck? Although Fitbit has changed so much, and that's why we're in this predicament, because the watches just don't do what they're supposed to anymore. Their heart rate isn't accurate. This is the newer ones, by the way. The Versa 1 is super accurate, but the newer ones are not super accurate. The Charge 5 was like the closest thing I could find to an accurate Fitbit device in a long time, but they removed features from it again. No Spotify controls, no music controls, no Find Your Phone. They finally did add it, although their stance in the beginning was, we took polls and people didn't want that feature. It turns out they did because you re-added it, you doofuses. And their customer support is it's non-existent. Even with Google at the helm now, it's just non-existent. So I don't know. This has a better user experience also. So that's something to take into consideration. I wish I didn't have to change. I wish I wasn't even thinking about changing. But honestly, I just see Fitbit, I don't know, it's going in the wrong direction. Their fitness trackers just don't have the quality of life features that they used to. I mean, taking the altimeter away from like the charge, that what was the point of that? So, with the Apple Watch, you're not compromising, but you're definitely not getting that Fitbit experience. And to me, that's the hardest part, is not getting that Fitbit experience. I enjoy that Fitbit experience. I like the idea that you get a sleep animal. I think it's fun. It makes tracking your data a little bit more fun, a little bit less, neurotic. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful to you in some way. If anything, it gives you an insight into looking into the two ecosystems, the Fitbit ecosystem and the Apple ecosystem, as well as showing, how these watches can help, or at least give you insights into when you're getting sick, are sick, or just not feeling your best, and what maybe you have to do to improve that. So thanks again for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you want to know about future videos, and the little bell icon for notifications. You can also like the video. You can also dislike the video. Anyway, I hope to see you in the next one. Yep, I'm that guy right now. This is my life.